What is up, alien army? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore, and on this channel we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic is going to be a podcast style, which means that you don't necessarily have to look at the screen. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Timestamps are going to be listed below because we are going to be going through all 12 ascendant signs and definitions as was channeled to me. To get the ascendant in astrology, I will have calculators listed below where you can find your birth details, but keep in mind for the ascendant, the exact birth time and location is a must, okay? And we're going to be just going off of things that I channeled. I unearthed this notepad that I would channel stuff in before I was using my voice notes, and this is from a few years ago, but for some reason I was guided to share this with y'all today, so here we the fuck are. Either which way, I'm just going to be reading from the voice notes. Jeez, I get everything so confused. It's okay though. I'm just going to be reading from my notepad, so if you hear pages fluttering and shit, you'll know what the fuck it is, okay? And then I'm just going to be intuiting, like filling in the blanks in case I sense that there might be any questions. So the ascendant, first off, from my perspective, this is how I personally view the ascendant. Take what resonates with you. I consider the ascendant to be the most important aspect in astrology because it is the lens that you are essentially going to be filtering every other placement through. It's going to be like the rose-tinted spectacles that you are seeing your surroundings through, and how you are just looking at life in general. So every placement from the charts that I've studied is just going to be filtered with the ascendant, shading in the other placements, okay? It's going to have a twang of the ascendant in there, okay? That's from my personal perspective. That's why I find the ascendant to be the most important, because it's really the shell that the physical vessel personality is painted with, okay? And that's how one just generally views their life, okay? So let's get into the different signs. Now, the ascendant is the filter in which one views life through. Aries is experiencing life through daring moments, okay? And with the Aries energy, it's high regard to explore their domain through newness and exertion actively, intuitively, and on purpose, with zest, stubbornness, uncrackable optimism, okay? Now, the shadow of this is ferociousness, recklessly, daringly, and keyword is ferocious, okay? So this is what I'm sensing with the Aries ascendant here. That's what I wrote from my notes. So this is going to be someone who is just going to be very gung-ho about pursuing whatever the fuck it is, and it doesn't matter, because remember, if the ascendant is filtering everything, the Aries ascendant is going to be just going ham in every aspect. That's just how they see that's how they're taking in their environment. That's how a lot of individuals in their environment might see them, because they're expressing the Aries energy, because they're striving to achieve the Aries energy. It's the ascendant, it's the aspiration, aspiritus, that the Aries ascendant person is going to just strive towards throughout their life. Whatever they're setting on out to do, it's going to have the Aries filter. And with this one, someone is going to want to explore their domain in a way which might seem bold or brazen or reckless. Now, I do associate Aries energy a lot with the Fool card in tarot. I know it's associated with Uranus and Aquarius energy, but I personally view this as well with Aries energy. Like, if you have Uranus and Aries, let's say, I don't know what generation would be Uranus and Aries, but if someone had Uranus and Aries, that is just how I'm sensing this Aries ascendant. It's just, there is no past, there's no future. It's just now, it's me. I am Optimus Prime, okay? So it can be great because there's always enthusiasm, and there tends to be very, very little fear or concern about any potential outcomes. So they can be perceived as being like daredevil or risque, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just how they're They're applying their energy with zest and with a bold, brazen attitude, okay? And, you know, a shadow side of this can be a bit of a ferociousness, a bit of a fierceness, also some stubbornness. This is not someone who's going to want to be tied down or told what to do. Even if they're told what to do, they're going to do it in a way that suits them as an individual. Because remember, Aries and first house energy has to do with I am and how one is viewing themselves without infiltration from any other type of sign or placement. So let's move into the Taurus Ascendant. Now, the Taurus Ascendant is someone that wants to experience life through moments of pleasurable control, okay? So Taurus Ascendant, Taurus Rising is going to explore their domain through building solid foundations, acquiring material abundance, living extravagantly, tenaciously, doggedly. And a shadow aspect can be control issues, refusal to accept things. They can be a little bit brackish, okay? And I don't know why I literally wrote brackish. And if you know anything about brackish, I'm like referring to like the water, like the water, like it's not like an ocean where it's like deep salt, you know what I'm saying? It's brackish, it's like a little bit salty. So I think that's where I got it from. Like Taurus Ascendant can be a little bit salty. They can have a tone of a little bit of like a bitterness if something doesn't go their way, or if they feel like they are losing control over something. Because remember, this is fixed earth, so this is someone who they are going to seem very grounded and stable in their convictions and secure on the outside, because they're really viewing everything as a challenge. They're viewing it as an obstacle. How can I stabilize this? It's a very fixed mechanism in the chart where they are looking to stabilize everything, and that is where we have, you know, there perhaps could be like hoarding tendencies or things like that, okay? And you know, Taurus energy on the ascendant, this is also, with tarot cards, obviously the Hierophant, however you want to say it, is associated with Taurus energy, but just right now the Strength card came up. So this is about someone who is really striving to constantly overcome physical obstacles and trying to wield control over their physical realm environments from a higher octave level of energy. This is someone who is utilizing spiritual strength in order to stabilize their immediate physical realm surroundings. This is someone who is not going to be pushed around. This is not someone who is going to let go of something very, very easily in terms of like a physical obstacle or perceived challenge. They're going to keep going until they, to them, have stabilized it. Okay, so this is going to be someone who they might come off a little bit haughty. I really can't like make myself say haughty, so I say haughty. Okay, haughty. Haughty, haughty, okay? And come off a little haughty, and in a way where it's like they can be perceived as very intimidating just because they have a lot of self-control mechanism. But at times they can burst and explode. And when they burst and explode, if anyone has ever witnessed this from Taurus Ascendant, they're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? It's like out of nowhere, and it can be quite lethal. So this is someone that's going to just come off as intimidating, but they also are going to come off as very confident and secure in their surroundings. Like they can take literal piles of shit and build from it and make a pristine castle that smells like roses, okay? So let's get into Gemini. Gemini Ascendant likes to experience life through inquisitive moments, and they are very curious. The Gemini energy on the Ascendant also likes to explore its domain through intellectual gatherings of a personal nature, creative conversations, thought-provoking conversations. And their shadow side can be callous, relentless, and snarky, okay? Now, Gemini, I do just want to say, for me personally, with this Gemini Ascendant, Gemini is typically associated with the Lover's Tarot card. I do not see that, okay? I see this more. I don't even know if I'm really sensing a major arcana. What's coming immediately to me is like Five of Swords or Seven of Swords. And I don't mean that in a negative way with this Gemini ascendant energy. This is just someone who is likely to just notice every minute detail about things that were said to them or what someone wrote online or in a forum and just overanalyze something to a point where they want to shield themselves, and it can come off as if they're just I don't know, snarky. Like it's like a chihuahua that like doesn't mean harm, but it's like it's barking, yapping, however, and then it's like you want it to just stop, but it's like no, and then it snaps at you, right? But it's not vicious, but it's like whoa, like it's coming off like defensive with words, or like very shrewd, very, very quick-witted. I do have to say, this is someone who is going to be able to strike up a conversation with anyone about anything. I mean, unless there's obviously another strong influence in the chart, but typically Gemini ascendant, they just want to learn, they want to take in things from their environment. But like I said with that Chihuahua example, it's like they're yapping so much because they don't want anyone to see what's going on inside of them. And then if someone tries to be like, hey Chihuahua, why are you yapping, then that's when they snap, right? Because they're like, whoa, I'm talking here, no one gave you the microphone, right? It's sort of like that energy. But it's very, very intelligent, I have to say, with the Gemini ascendant. They always want to learn things from their immediate environment. They're curious, they're inquisitive, they're going to, even the smallest thing to the smallest detail, they, you know, because this is traditionally governed by Mercury, right? So they are going to want to know the itty bitty details, the smallest detail. They will pick apart what someone said to them or wrote to them verbatim, and they will sit there and pick it apart until literally there's nothing left but, you know, fucking bones of chicken wings and shit, you know what I'm saying? And then the bones are dried up and crispy, and you know, they're like collapsing, okay, the fucking bones, because that's how much they like pick it apart. I'm also sensing that the Gemini ascendant, this is someone who just likes to ask a lot of questions, especially about others. But like I said, there's somewhat of a guard up because they don't want it to go back at them, because on the inside, remember, Gemini is a dual sign, it's mutable. So what we want to keep in mind here with the Gemini dual energy and Mercury, it's like, well, there's sort of like a message conveyed externally that might not be in alignment with what they are knowing about themselves on the inside, because this is someone who does a lot of self-analyzing. Okay, they tend to be in their head a lot, and they'll be in their head about things that others have said, and it's just they're very able to quickly gauge how someone is responding to them, and it's like an intuitive level, not like a water sign, but it's an intuitive level, like, well, your tone was a bit different. You always use this word in a sentence, but today you use this word. Why? It's more like that. They're going to pick up on linguistic attributes very, very fast, and that's what helps them to establish a rapport with those around them, so that those around them feel comfortable opening up, but not to the point where the Gemini ascendant is going to necessarily open up back, because what they have going on the inside is more about, they're not looking at how they are interacting with the individual from a personal standpoint. They're looking at how they're interacting with the other individual from like a mental sparring type of standpoint. It's like they're playing chess. It's not like they're being genuine or phony. It's just more of like a mind fuck type of energy. Like they're playing chess. They're like, what is this person about to say? They did that before. Are they going to do that again? In terms of like conversations and things like that. So they're trying to keep up anticipating what the other individual is going to maybe expect from them out of a conversation. And then they'll align up accordingly with that, rather than align up accordingly with how they're really feeling on the inside about that particular conversation, if that makes sense. So moving along to Cancer. Cancer Ascendant likes to experience life through emotional moments, and Cancer likes to explore their domain through feeling it out, going back to what resonates emotionally, their emotional blueprint, pressing for emotions to validate experiences. And shadow aspects are being swept away emotionally, returning to places of mistrust, reverting back towards emotional reactions, or not responding. Okay, so when we're discussing this Cancer energy, this is a cardinal, this is water, so a lot of intuition here, but it's more of an intuition of wanting to go back to a familiar sense of home or feeling rather than proceed forward with something new. So it's like cardinal, so it's pushing forward, but it's pushing forward into the past. Like they're trying to maybe constantly correct the past or learn from their past mistakes. It's not going to be in a sense of like a mutable energy, like water. Pisces is mutable. They're not really focused either which way. They're not going to be remain fixed. They're not going to be focused on the past trying to rectify it. They're more in the moment. Whereas Cancer, which is why we have the representation, which I find can be accurate with Cancer, although sometimes I don't really find it to be accurate, is the Chariot tarot card. And I can see this because this is someone who wants to continually push forward, but it's like, are you going to steer in this direction where you're really going to move forward, or are you going to steer in the direction where you're trying to move forward from a past perspective? So this is someone who is going to remember little things, not necessarily the way a Gemini ascendant would remember little things, but they're going to take in their environment, remembering little things, little nuances about how that particular environment made them feel. So if they were at the beach in the middle of January and it was 30 degrees out, but they were having a good time, they're going to sensationalize within them that pleasant memory, and they're going to take in the way that they felt on an emotional level. Maybe not on a level where they felt the wind blowing, or that they felt cold and they didn't care or whatever, but it's more of like, how did they feel on the inside when they were having that experience, and then how can they relive that experience again, the experience that felt good. Obviously, the shadow aspect of this in their environment, if they are viewing something that from a memory that made them feel like shit, then there could be a tendency to, I'm just picturing someone like stereotypically looking into they're playing every slow jam and they're sitting in their room with candles lit, and they're, it's like, this can also be an individual who might set aside a time to cry, okay? And I don't mean that in like a negative way, you know what I'm saying? Like crying it's a natural, you know what I'm saying? You cry for different reasons, you cry for like joy, you try like cry out of happiness, but this is someone who I see like actually setting a time to, I don't know, be nostalgic or be sad, or, replay memories that they don't much want. Okay, that's kind of what I'm sensing here, this Cancerian energy on the Ascendant. And this is to be someone who's going to take in their realm from new experiences, but relating it back to a way that they perhaps felt in the past, and then computing it from there. Like, do I want to step forward into this because it brings me back to a happy place, or do I step forward into this because of another reason, right? So this is someone who can be wanting to move forward, but bringing a bit of the past along with them. And this is someone who, they may or may not come off as emotional, but on the inside, it's like they are very much affected by their feelings, and this is someone who their feelings can really dictate their entire day. And of course, that could be true for a lot of individuals. Just with Cancer Ascendant, just because their prime focus is to focus on Cancerian energy, move forward through feelings, taking the past into consideration, seeing what to bring with them, on their new journey. It's more of a profound effect. So the Leo Ascendant wants to experience life through moments of admiration and attention. And they also want to explore their domain through recognition, being recognized, achievement of personal goals and growth, and knowing that they have made a solid impression on others in every moment, letting their presence be known. And shadow aspect they can have a little bit of an arrogant streak, and they can be overly exertive of their own will and dominating and domineering over others. Okay, now this is someone with Leo on the ascendant. They are going to want to have fun. It's like this is the ultimate individual that comes out to go partying. Okay, some might not agree with that, but it really depends on what's conjuncting the ascendant, aspects to the ascendant, things like that. But Leo ascendant, they pretty much want to have a good time wherever they are. They want to be noticed. They just want it to be a good time. Now, a shadow aspect of this, if they are not having a good time in a situation, they will let it be known, whether it's necessarily considered to be appropriate or not. So this is someone, if they're not having a good time, they will make sure that everyone else knows about that, so it can sort of be a killjoy to others that are there and they are having a good time, because the Leo ascendant, you're going to know where you stand with them, whether it's positively or negatively. They're not going to be someone who is going to mince their words for anyone, because remember, this is someone, they want to be recognized. They're not necessarily caring too much about where the recognition comes from. This is someone who considers all publicity to be good publicity. It's not that they're concerned about their reputation or that they care what others think, but they'll care that they're noticed, and it doesn't matter to them how they are noticed. This is someone who is very strong-willed. Once they've made up their mind, remember that fixed fire, it's like that's it. There's really no turning back, or if there is, it would take a very, very long time, and you're not going to convince them to do anything. It has to come from their own psyche and their own thoughts, okay? So they want to explore their domain through recognition. So wherever they go, even if it's just like to the laundromat or wherever the fuck, the grocery store, they're just going to want to be noticed. They're likely someone who wants to just walk in and be served. Like, oh, I got you, sir, your usual, right? Like when they walk into their bar and the bartender serves them their favorite drink, and they don't need to ask. Like, they like that, okay? And this is someone who also is very generous as well. They're very generous with their time and their affection. They like to showboat. So this is someone who is likely to be performing a lot of grandiose, what do they call that with the different love languages? Like, this is someone who likes to buy gifts and be extravagant. I forget what it's called, but this is likely to be someone who's Leo rising. They just like to express it in action, okay? So even though they can be domineering, they're still going to be generous with someone that they feel is treating them in the way that they see themselves. And they see themselves via the lens of their ascendant is that they are meant to be seen. They are meant to be noticed. They are meant to be listened to. And to them, they are the life of the party, even though they can, they can come off as someone who is very loud and exuberant. Maybe it can borderline be obnoxious or something, but they're not really out to cause malice, okay? They're not really, they're just there, they want to have a good time, and they have a big personality to the effect that if someone is not recognizing them for what they are, they can, because the fifth house is like entertainment and things like that, having fun. And they're just kind of like, well, what the fuck is this? You're boring. They'll be not bored with themselves, but they'll kind of be like, well, hey, like, it's boring without me there. Like, like I am the party type of energy, okay? So let's move on to Virgo Ascendant. So Virgo Ascendant is someone who desires to experience life through their discerning of moments and being analytical with their physical environment. They're someone who likes to explore their domain through analyzation and gathering of data, externally applying reason to experience discernment, statistical maneuvering, integrating the physical environment with a cause effect on the self, and shadow, internal hostility, superiority complex, and smug. Okay, so with this that I'm saying, This is someone who, again, like the Gemini, who is also ruled by Mercury, this is someone who they like to overanalyze, but instead of really just being in their head about it like a Gemini, they want to experience life through like analyzation of like physical data. Okay, so I don't know, I'm picturing someone like conducting science experiments or something. Like, well, if I move one drop into vial A, what's going to happen? If I then drop vial A entirely into vial Z, you know, something like that. Okay, not necessarily that, although it can be, but they're more like they're more curious about how they can affect their physical realm environment and how their physical realm environment affects them. This is someone who is likely to be very detail oriented as well, just because we have that Mercury thing there. So it's going to be little things, little minute details that others might not even notice, that they are just going to tweak and attempt to perfect. So this is someone who, you know, with the shadow aspect, even though they are very intellectual and inquisitive and questioning of their environment, they could think that because they put so much influence into studying their physical environment that they have the only say in it, and they might not be open to what someone else has to say. If, let's say, you know, the Virgo Ascendant performed this experiment and then someone else performed an experiment, that's where the potential superiority complex with like the intellect would come in, because they're like, there's no way this motherfucker put in as much effort as I did to like tweak every detail. Like, so that's where it would come from. Not smug in a sense of I'm better than you, I'm the shit, look at me. It's more of like, there's no way that they put in this much thought and effort as I did, so how can they possibly know what I know about this topic, right? So it can also be someone who is very detail oriented in just like everything. They want to study every detail. Not necessarily in conversation the way like a Gemini ascendant would, but it's more about how they are interacting. Because remember, also the sixth house is like it's the house of like service to others, right? So they want to also gauge how they are interacting with their environment on a physical level from an intellectual standpoint. So where a Gemini ascendant might take in their environment and conversations with individuals from, you know, however they do it, just from analyzing what someone said to them. The Virgo rising will do the same thing, but they're going to do it from more of like a physical standpoint. Like, I'm having conversation with this individual. They blinked once 3 seconds ago, and then they touched their cheek 5 seconds ago. It's like, I don't know, that was like a weird example, but it's more based on someone's physical maneuvers around them and how they are affecting others by their own physical maneuvers. So again, it's sort of like that playing chess type of energy, just because it is Mercury, but it's not like on a, oh, well, I'm going to prepare for what they said and not show what I'm saying or thinking about it. It's like more like I'm going to analyze what they said. I'm going to analyze what they did. I'm going to analyze their actions, not so that I can respond, just so I can keep that in my little notebook of facts and things like that, like just to compare. It's not really for a response in the way that like a Geminian energy might be more loquacious in a sense of wanting to overly talk to everyone. A Virgo ascendant, they can still have that gift of conversation, but they're going to be more... They're going to be more of not having a conversation back. They're just kind of someone who would rather ask questions and analyze on their own time, and then perhaps at a later point, because remember Earth, you know, it's slower moving, air, Gemini is air, there's nothing slowing it down really. They'll at a later moment in time acknowledge the conversation, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's move along to Libra ascendant. So Libra ascendant is someone who desires to experience life through moments with other people and relationships. So we do know that Libra is governor of the 7th house and Venus. Okay, Taurus is also governed by Venus. Now, the thing with Libra, okay, also Libra wants to explore their domain with others, accept the other, liberation of the self through peace, building relationships with others, social interactions. And shadow aspects can be indecision, avoidance of unpleasantness, and sweeping things under the rug. Okay, so this is in regards to where Taurus with the Venus energy wants the finer things around them that they built themselves. Libra is more of like they want the finer things around them, but they don't really care where it comes from. And I don't mean that in like a negative way, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll care to an extent, but they don't have that concern of like building it, right? Because it's air, it's not earth. So with the Libra, they're more focused on having a pleasant atmosphere with the relations around them, good conversations with those around them, and just a pleasing ambiance where they're able to socialize and interact with others. So this is someone who is likely to be drawn towards like the finer things. They are likely to be open to speaking and engaging with a lot of different individuals, but they're looking at it from a point of how would they want to be spoken to, and they can be upset if the individual is not treating them the way that the Libra rising is approaching them. But remember, you know, everyone is different. So this can be someone who can be passive aggressive, because that's a, you know, it's stereotypical with Libra energy. Also, the Justice card is coming up here, but I'm seeing also like Two of Cups. I'm sensing, I know it's a water card, but I'm sensing Two of Cups with Libra energy as well, just because the relationship. So this is someone who is, you know, they might be pleasant to everyone, and they might be expressing their feelings, not expressing their feelings like wearing their heart on their sleeve. I mean, they can, but it's more, I wouldn't take it that far, but expressing their feelings in like, well, you know, I would like to know where you want to eat because I want you to be happy in your company with me. And the other individual is just like, you know, the next time they want to hang out, the Libra Ascendant, they're like, oh yeah, let's just go here. And the Libra Ascendant might be like, but you didn't even take into consideration when I took you into consideration that I asked you where you wanted to go and you didn't ask me. So it's sort of like that, but it's more of like they are sensing how to interact themselves as an individual in relation to the other, whether it's a relationship or just someone who they have in their experience that they're hanging out with, that they're cool with. It's like part of their desire is to learn how to be themselves and to really weigh what is worth mentioning and what is not worth mentioning. You know, with that Justice energy, okay, also Two of Cups, right? This is also someone who is likely to, you know, the Libra Ascendant, this is someone who is very likely to just like calm and peace and tranquility. They don't really like drama and yelling or a lot of things like that, okay? Because they don't really see a point, because they can be emotional in a sense where they have feelings about others. Remember, this is the house of the relationships, but they're not someone who's going to be emotional and just start yelling and screaming. They're more likely to just stay silent in the moment and then go deal with it later by themselves, which is why like a lot of like stereotypical Libra energy, whether it's on the ascendant or not, can have like a delayed reaction. It's like, wait, I have to think about this. Like they're not going to be really in touch with their emotions immediately, because the emotions have to go through the intellectualization. And they're going to be seen as someone who is very into, you know, perhaps like smelling good, or their fashion sense, or there's just going to be something about them where they're going to just look effortless in what they're doing because of that Venus with the air quality. You know, like Venus is just sort of, you know, in the sign of Libra with this energy here, which is the difference from Taurus, is that the Taurus Venus energy is more of a physical assertion to get finer things, and the Venus with the Libra energy is more of like the mental knowledge of the way they just carry themselves energetically in order to just appear like they have the finest things. But Taurus can appear a little more rugged on the surface, Taurus ascendant, but they still have that same refined taste. But Libra, you're not, even if they are, putting in that, was that the cliche saying, blood, sweat, and tears, you're not going to see them blood, sweat, and tears. You're not going to see that. Whereas like with the Taurus rising, you likely are going to see that side of them, because remember, the Libra, they balance, so they can balance. If they feel like they look like a hot mess, you're not going to catch them anywhere looking like a hot mess. They're going to be making sure that they're poised and everything is fine when they are interacting with others. So let's move into Scorpio ascendant. Now, Scorpio ascendant wants to experience life through intense moments. They want to explore their domain through emotional intensity, exploring all emotions, guarding emotions, releasing emotions, magnification of deeper meanings, and going beneath the surface. A shadow aspect can be spiraling out of control, stagnation of the psyche, being stuck in one place emotionally, or a fear of letting go. So with this, this is Scorpio energy, which is fixed water. So it's emotional, it's intuitive, but it's very, very guarded and private. Remember, 8th house is taboo, so or secrets, or whatever, however they want to call it, death, rebirth. Okay, right? The 8th house has a taboo reputation, but with this energy, they're very guarded with their own emotions, because they feel that any emotion that they feel it so deeply that it must be taboo to even talk about it with someone else, because they don't possibly understand how someone else can feel this deep emotion. And remember, because this is on the ascendant, this is like Pluto governance, okay, archaically Mars. These are volatile energies in astrology, Mars and Pluto, and they are volatile, but it's veiled volatility. So it's very similar to Taurus energy, where I said they can come off as intimidating, but Taurus will look physically more intimidating, whereas a Scorpio ascendant will look more, they'll just have a vibe of intimidating, like don't fuck with me. Whereas like a Taurus will look someone dead in the eye and be like, don't fuck with me. Scorpio ascendant, they would stand there and they would just stare someone down, and it's like they would receive a telepathic mind message, like you trying to fuck with me. It's more like that. It's more of like a psychological, because remember, 8th house as well as water, so this is intuitive. It's not necessarily physical. They have a very strong aura, they have a very strong energy, and their emotions are very, very intense, even if their moon sign is not on board, just because they desire to experience all the intensities of the emotions with that ascendant placement. Because they're desiring that, they're open to experiencing every emotion. They're not even someone who, they can be afraid of intense emotions, but they want to experience it anyway. Like they can be someone who will jump into like a boiling cauldron of water, right? And they know that the water is boiling, and they know that it might burn going in, but they want to experience that anyway, just for the exploration of the depth of their own psyche. Okay, they tend to, I wouldn't say like inner analyze the way like a mercurial placement would be, or like an air placement, but they're analyzing their emotions. They're enjoying the intensity of the high highs and the low lows. And this is someone who is likely to not want to settle for mediocrity in terms of their emotions, no matter what they do, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship or friendship, whatever it is. If they're not feeling it to their core, they just rather not deal with it. They have no problem being by themselves. They're okay with that, because as far as they're concerned, their innermost sensations are so deep and taboo to them that they don't understand how someone else could possibly even understand it. So they kind of view themselves as maybe like a lone wolf, but they'll jump right in without a care. Because remember, like I said, with the Aries ascendant in the beginning, it's like, with that Mars energy, and Scorpio is governed archaically by Mars, it's still that let's move forward, like warrior mode, but this is more of like on an emotional type of level rather than like a physical level. So they might get very heavily entrenched in like emotional finaglings, no matter what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship, but it could be It could be anything, really. Okay, I'm picturing someone going on like, they're like backpacking through the wilderness in the jungle by themselves, and like they know there's gonna be like pumas and anacondas that might jump out at them. I don't even know. Amazon rainforest. There are pumas there. There's some sort of big cat there. I forget which. Might be a puma or a leopard. No, I don't think it's a leopard. Either which way. Like they're likely to just go at it alone. Like, okay, yeah, like they can emotionally handle anything that the physical can throw at them, not necessarily because they're physically strong and capable, but because emotionally they know that they got themselves, so they're okay with that. Okay, so let's move on to Sagittarius Ascendant. Now, Sagittarius Ascendant desires to experience life through adventurous and spontaneous moments. They want to experience their physical domain viscerally and questioningly, synthesizing ideas into actions, performance, and being on stage. They also are interested in empowerment of their psyche. And shadow aspects can be showboating, empty promises, and being non-committal. Okay, so with the Sagittarius on the Ascendant, this is someone who they are very inquisitive about their environment, but they're not necessarily inquisitive like the opposite sign Gemini, which would be on a personal level. They want to see how everything for the whole big picture ties together with things in their immediate environment. So this is someone who is likely to look at a tree and be like, wow, like this tree was here, like, and this house that I'm living in now was built, but this tree was already here, and I wonder what type of species tree lives this long. Like, it's more of like, that was a weird example, I guess, but you see what I'm saying? It's more like it's in their personal environment, but they want to extend it further outward with that ninth house. Like, where did this come from? Like, what do I think about this tree? What is this tree making me feel? It's like more of like, we have Sagittarius, the stereotypical sign of the philosopher. So this is perhaps like the best way to understand it. They'll just contemplate things in their immediate environment, but they want to see the deeper meaning. That's why the ninth house is also governor of like religions and spirituality and things like that. It's like, how does the immediate environment reflect back from the macrocosm and vice versa, right? It's like they want to see the interconnectedness of all things, but they want to do it in a way where they just want to explore. Now, this can be exploring, because fire is that passion, right? So they might explore it physically, but this is also because it does have to do with the ninth house. So they can also be exploring things from a mental perspective as well, like such as psychedelic experiences or things like that, because it's traveling. Wherever you're traveling, whether it's in your mind or if it's physically, whether it's even down to like, the corner store, right? The travel, they're about the journey. I mean, they're about the destination too, but they're really someone who is likely to just enjoy the journey wherever they're going. And this is why they can have that shadow aspect of being non-committal, because it's like they don't want to tie themselves to any one thing. Because remember, this is mutable fire, ninth house, mutable house. So there's really no bound, there's no limit that they want to impose upon themselves. And they just want to be free. Like, freedom is their number one thing. They want to be free mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They don't want their ideals questioned in a way where it's going to inhibit them. Like, they'll have a conversation with someone about their ideals and things like that, but they are not going to want someone to judge them for the way that they carry themselves or the way that they live their life, right? Like, they find that everything, with that performer on stage type of thing. If we want to think of, the fire signs, they're typically just because, fire, that's what they're known for, right? They want to be seen, they want to be noticed. It's like Aries energy would just jump right in with more of a warrior attitude, like, look at me, you gonna fuck with this. Leo would jump right in, well, notice me, I'm the fucking boss, you know what I'm saying? And Sagittarius energy would jump in like, notice me, I'm here, I'm having a good time. Oh, you didn't notice me? Okay, I don't give a fuck, I'm just having a good time by myself. They don't really, like, they'll just wander off to different places, not really caring about an audience. Because remember, Jupiter governs Sagittarius So they are just gonna feel like everywhere they go is an optimistic outcome, okay? Whereas like an Aries might jump in, like at first they might be a little defensive because that warrior Mars, the Leo might jump in, they might be like that sun, well, I'm jumping in so that you can look at me. Sagittarius, the Jupiter is like, I'm jumping in and I'm a cannonball and it doesn't matter how I jump in, I'm gonna affect everyone in the fucking swimming pool. You know, it's more like that type of energy. And it can be, you know, with the promises as well, because, you know, the shadow aspect with the Sagittarius ascendant, because they like to move around a lot, they are very, you know, they can move around constantly and they'll be okay with it. But others who like something more stable and grounded are going to appear to the Sagittarius rising like they are a stick in the butt. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just trying to control the Sagittarius, even though to someone who has a lot of like earth energy, like Capricorn or Taurus, let's say, they're more grounded. They'll be like, let's plan a trip 2 months from now. Sagittarius energy would be like, 2 months? Like, what? That's a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want to commit like that because they're always changing, because it's mutable, so they don't really care. It's like anything goes, literally. And it's like that's how they can come off to someone who is more grounded. They're like, but you're being fickle. How do you not know it's 2 months? Like, that's reasonable. And it wouldn't be reasonable to a Sagittarius, like, because they can change their mind so many times, you know, in 2 seconds. Like, they'll be off here, then they'll be off there. This is someone who I picture, you know, going literal party hopping all night, and then it's like 11 o'clock the next morning and they're still ready to go, but everyone else fell asleep. So Capricorn ascendant desires to experience their domain through observation of surroundings without participating unless they can be constructive and helpful. And they also want to explore their domain and leave a material legacy or imprint, branching out physically, amassing comfort in the material realm, observing fruition. On the shadow side, they can be tyrannical, overbearing, and rigid. So when I was just discussing with this Sagittarius energy in regards to, you know, the Capricorn and the Taurus, the Earth, now we're moving into cardinal Earth governed by Saturn. And so this is someone who, they are not going to come off as overly emotional unless there's really other strong emotional factors going on in the chart. This is someone who is likely to appear cold. They're likely to appear calculated, very serious, methodical. And they are someone who, they want to observe their surroundings but not necessarily get caught up in the fray. So whereas, let's say, Sagittarius rising will jump in, cannonball into the swimming pool without a second thought, the Capricorn is going to stand there. They're not going to dip their toe in. They're going to be like, oh, I'm observing the pool. I see others having fun. This is fun for me, observing others having fun, because I don't have to worry about my fucking swimming trunks getting wet. You know what I'm saying? It's more like that type of energy. Another weird example, but, you know. So they want to explore their domain, but they don't want to really participate in something unless they can help improve it or make it better, because this is building. Remember, 10th house, this is legacy. Okay, so they want to be recognized for their efforts. So they want to make sure if they are going to exert any type of effort to build something to help someone, then they are going to want it to be something that they know that they can do right. This is someone who can be very hard on themselves, like especially in terms of like failure, even if it's the most minute perceived failure. You know what I'm saying? Like if they, you know, burnt their steak, they made it well done when they meant to make it medium well or some shit, right? This is someone who is likely they're like thinking about it, not in like a way where, like, you know, let's say a Virgo ascendant would be thinking about it, like they'll think about it like, okay, this is what I did. Next time I'm going to have to remember to do it this way. And then they'll, you know, they won't ever trust and know that they won't ever burn their fucking steak again. I'll tell you what, okay? So this can come off as someone who can be a bit perfectionist, but they're also going to know their bounds. They're going to know what they're capable of. They're very sure of themselves. This is why I said they can come off as like overbearing, because they know what they're capable of, so they simply can't fathom a lot of times how someone else cannot know what they are capable of, like of either what the Capricorn ascendant is capable of or what the other person is capable of. So let's say someone waltzes in and Capricorn ascendant is hiring them, right? They're the boss, of course they are. They're hiring someone for a position. Someone comes in and they, you know, they fill out the resume, they have the interview, whatever, and the Capricorn ascendant is like, so can you do this? The other individuals be like, oh, I don't know. The Capricorn is gonna be like, well, what do you mean you don't know? they're not even going to be able to compute that. Be like, the question is, can you do this or can you not do that? And if someone even says, I don't know, I never tried, that's going to be an unacceptable answer for someone with Capricorn on the ascendant, because they are approaching everything from like, if you did not know that you could handle that, why did you even jump in the pool and get your feet wet? You should know what you're capable of, what you can build upon, what your strengths are before you even dive into that. Okay, so there's not going to be something that Capricorn ascendant is going to do unless they are absolutely sure they can do it. And you know, if they have to hire someone to do something, or that, you know, to help them or whatever, it's not gonna be something they particularly like to do, but they'll do it just because they realize, they're like, that's not my strong point, this is my strong point, so I'm gonna hire someone else, I'll pay them, they'll do that because that's their strong point. So they're not gonna understand anything in their environment that is coming off as wishy-washy, and they're not going to really like things left in the air. They like to have closure on a lot of things. Okay, so whether it's like a job or a relationship or something, it's just their environment they want to build. And they also, with Capricorn energy, is they really want to like better everything around them. Remember, it's like establishment, 10th house. So if they feel that they don't have anything to give to a situation that's going to benefit it, whether it's a job or a relationship or, you know, whatever, or even if they feel like they're not going to benefit from going on a, you know, on a vacation, they're just not going to do it. Like I said, when I first went in, you know, they'd rather just watch motherfuckers in the pool if they know they're not going to have a good time in the pool themselves. Okay, so let's move on to Aquarius ascendant. Aquarius ascendant desire to move through their experience through random and uninhibited moments, and they like to explore their physical domain with insight via impulses through keeping individuality of the self, and this is keeping individuality of the self whilst fraternizing with others. They want to socialize with affability and camaraderie, acceptance of others as others will accept their own individuality, and their shadow aspect is destructive rebellion, condescendence, and they can be foolhardy. So this is not to say that's like daredevil in the way that like that Aries energy would be daredevil, like, oh yeah, truth or dare, and you motherfucker pick dare every time. This is like, they come in and they just don't think, they don't realize, they don't even realize that it is a dare. They just do it. And here's the interesting thing about Aquarius rising. Like, they'll just walk off the edge of the cliff, like that, you know, the Fool Tarot card example. But it's like, they will have no idea, like they won't even be in it for the adrenaline, the way like an Aries ascendant would. They would be in it just because they're like, oh, something looks interesting over there. Let me follow my intuition, just go there. And then there's like one of those, what are those things? I don't know what they're called. The pit with like all of the balls, and you like jump into it and shit. Okay, it's like one of those is like under the edge of the cliff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it like they're so, you know, this is why it's giving me, you know, obviously the star card is focused with Aquarius. We're talking about Aquarius ascendant, but it's really with that star card, like they're always looking towards the future, but they're not really ever expecting to get there, because once they get there, it's like a dog chasing cars. They're not gonna, that came from fucking The Dark Knight, I don't know how, but they're like a dog chasing cars, so they're watching the star in the distance, they're jumping off that cliff, they don't even realize it is a cliff, they just keep moving, they land in the ball pit, and then they're like, oh, I'm in a ball pit, okay, what's that glittering over there? And it's not that it's like a short attention span the way like a Gemini ascendant would be. It's more of like, it's like a moment by moment, like they're not even thinking that there is a next moment or a past moment or anything like that. On the ascendant, the Aquarius energy is going to express itself as like, I'm just doing me, I'm looking towards this star over here off in the distance, I don't care if I ever get there, I'm happy and content daydreaming about getting to the star, right? So that's why the Aquarian ascendant, just Aquarius energy in general, can seem like they are unattached, simply because they're not really putting a lot of thought into like the immediate environment. They're just sort of like in their head with it's not idealization the way like a Pisces would idolize. It's more of like an idolization of like, oh yeah, that could happen in the future, let me move there because I just want to keep like moving into the future, right? So even though it is fixed, it can be an aspect of them where they want to keep moving forward into the future, but they, you know, they don't want to acknowledge any type of thing that was negative in the past, especially something from an emotional standpoint, because they're really not going to be able to compute emotions that easily, because remember, this is air. So their natural set point, they just want to experience the realm through like an idealistic vision of continually moving forward, even though they're fixed. So they might have like hang-ups where if they had a negative experience, they won't do that ever again, but it won't ever be questioned by them. It won't ever be talked about. It'll just be like, yeah, didn't like that, moving on, going on over here. It's not really acknowledging something in the past that they didn't like. It's just keep moving forward, just keep moving forward. And that's why they can seem a little bit, you know, detached as well, because it's like, they're like, wait, but that happened how long ago? You're on that? No one here is even thinking about that. I'm thinking about this. What's wrong with you? Like, and that's where also the condescendence might come in, because remember, this is air, so they consider themselves to be very intellectual, and they're not someone who is going to be told what to do, because they're like, well, look at how you're living your life, but you're trying to tell me what to do. But why don't you look at yourself instead of trying to impede my individuality and what I'm doing? Take a look at yourself. Like, are you happy with just you? Because they really won't care how someone else is living their life. I mean, unless of course it's like, you know, in detriment purposefully to the Aquarius ascendant, they're not going to care. They're not even going to look at it like that. They're going to be like, okay. Like, it's sort of like, I'm picturing like Shaggy and Scooby vibing, right? Like, in that little mystery vehicle, whatever the fuck was it called, the mystery mobile? I don't know. Okay, and they're just like eating Scooby snacks. Like, all right, man, I don't know, you do you. I'm. Oh shit, there's Scooby snacks over there. I'll be right back. And then it's like they don't come back. They're just on to the Scooby snack. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just want to keep moving forward. They're not going to put a thought into how the moment is feeling from an emotional level. They're going to go to what thought and what ideology feels the best. Now we have Pisces ascendant. So with Pisces on the ascendant, they want to experience their physical realm domain through interconnection with everyone and everything around them, as well as to explore their physical domain through artistic endeavors, mysticism, creating things, molding of intangible things to tangible fulfillment, utilizing the sensations of feeling, noticing nuances, insight via sentience, and shadow aspects are pacification and half-truths, easily swayed and scattered. So with this one, Pisces with the mutable and the 12th house, we have a lot of mystical ideals here. So this is idealism in the sense of not necessarily with the Aquarian ascendant idealism, where they're romanticizing a future thought. This is just idealizing everything in their environment, right? Like they're everything that their senses are picking up, they're like, oh wow, like this could mean this, that can mean that. Like there's not really a missed opportunity. It's sort of, I'm getting like Seven of Cups vibe energy for Pisces ascendant. And, it's just like everything is so romanticized by them. If you want to picture like the Seven Cups sitting in front of the motherfucker and he's like, wow, which one do I go to? It's like everything looks so amazing that they can't even decide where they want to go. And that's why, I think Pisces is correlated with Hanged Man energy, okay, or Neptune, something of that nature. Where it looks like someone is remaining stagnant, okay? But it's not that they're remaining stagnant. They can get lost in their head, and they can be someone who doesn't really make a decision very easily because they're so in their fantasies that they'd rather sit feeling good in their fantasies than actually have a reality play out better perhaps than what they imagined it. It's like they're safe in their imagination and they are not really looking at their surroundings from a place of logic whatsoever. This is someone who is likely to go to like a supernatural explanation before a logical explanation. Like someone drops their pen, oh my god, a ghost dropped the pen, you know what I mean? But the person they're with is like, no, I literally dropped the pen. Oh no, I think a ghost brushed against you and it made your finger slip or something. Like there's someone who, it's not the way a Sagittarius ascendant is, even though Pisces was archaically governed by Jupiter, so they have that in common. They're more along the lines of their emotions, like they're sensing the environment. They'd be like, no, but I know that this place has spiritual activity, so how do you not feel that it wasn't a ghost? It'll be like that. So there's really there's no boundaries, there's no limit. So this can be someone who, they're very idealistic in a sense that they're unassuming. They're just taking things moment by moment. There can be, that intuition of sensory perception. Well, this is someone who can seem at times maybe erratic because if they get a vibe about something, they will either go with it or not. And it's not going to make any sense to anyone around them. So it can seem like, what's going on, what just happened? So like, I just felt like it. And that'll be a valid response for someone that has Pisces on their ascendant because they're just going by blind intuition, how they're feeling in the moment, not how they're feeling in the way a Cancer would feel looking back towards the past, or how a Scorpio would feel like looking at their feelings in depth. They would be more like in the moment, the wind blew this way and that was a sign, so that's the way that they moved as well. It's going to be more of like that type of energy with Pisces on the ascendant. And that's why they can seem that they're easily swayed and scattered, right? Because they're all over the place. So they're not really focused on one point of anything. So this can appear, again, as fickle, as like sometimes, the mutable energy can appear fickle just because it's all over. But just with this intuitive sensing type of energy with the Piscean ascendant, they can appear very, very fickle because it's not their nature to really want to stay in an environment that they don't feel good in. And they're going to know their feelings, how they're feeling on the inside more than anyone could ever imagine. Because remember, this is mutable water. There's just pure intuition. There's no bound earthly anything that's going to infiltrate this, okay? This pure feeling of like, I'm in the moment. I'm going to go like this because I feel a vibe. I'm going to go over here because I felt a vibe. Like, it's just, it's like intuitive instinct. And because of, the Neptune energy is like the veil betwixt worlds, and because the Jupiter energy archaically, this does actually seem to work out abundantly for a Pisces ascendant, but to others, they might view them as like very unorthodox type of individuals, okay? Not necessarily like the Shaggy and Scooby thing, like, yeah, man, everything is all good, but the Pisces would be even more mystical than that and harder to pinpoint even than the Sagittarius ascendant, because the Sagittarius ascendant is mutable. They're hard to pin down, but it's more like you can pinpoint that they're enthusiastic, whereas like the Pisces, because they can blend in with their surroundings, someone might view a Pisces ascendant as being, I don't know, morbid or something, right? And then someone else might view that same individual with the Pisces rising as very exuberant. It's just they're going to sway more to whoever and whatever is around them the most from all the ascendants, because Pisces, mutable water, it's the final sign, 12th house. So it's able to take on intuitively what the other sign placements or individuals or places around them require from them. So if they feel like a house is haunted and whoever's there is like, nah, bruh, don't come in here, don't fuck with that, they're just gonna leave. Why'd you leave, Pisces ascendant? I felt like it. And that's the answer. So yeah, that is what I have for you guys today. This is just a little channeled, I don't know, from years ago that I kind of elaborated on here in regards to the ascendant. Again, you can find your ascendant with the exact birth time and the exact birth time only, because, you know, that's the only way it's going to be accurate. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful stroll today. I am Oculus, the alien next door, and we will chit-chat again soon.